And that right there is probably the most troubling part about this message, guys, because he himself, like I already told you, in his own church, he doesn't even believe what he just said. This is showmanship. This is a preacher getting carried away and saying something that he truly doesn't understand or actually mean. Because in his church, you cannot just come in to say, I believe in Jesus, and then start doing witchcraft in his church. You cannot come into his service and say, oh yeah, I believe in Jesus, and go try to perform an abortion in the corner. You could not go into his church and hit on his wife. All those things are the law of God.
They're saying, here, put the handcuffs back on me. Put the shackles back on me.
No, they weren't.
This freedom is way too much. I need to do something. I need to keep a ceremony. Or, you know, this free kind of worship is a little too much. I would rather go back to an older liturgical form of worship that's a little more rigid. Now, why is that tendency so prevalent? Here's why. It's really the pride of mankind.
Okay, guys, I hope you understand what we just witnessed. He set up a dichotomy. He set up this premise that, oh, sometimes people really struggle with freedom. They want rules. They want to be shackled again. Why? And now he's going to answer his own setup. None of this is from Scripture. This is all his opinion. This is what's called eisegesis. This is just his opinion imposed onto the text that he claims the text is trying to say. This is an opinion of man, a tradition of modern men. And he concludes his own setup with, oh, they're prideful. So what does that tell us after everything he's just said for the last 6 minutes? That if you're going backwards to keep the law of God, you're prideful. But the law of God teaches you to be humble and merciful, kind, gentle, loving. That Yahweh hates the proud. How could I possibly be prideful to go back to God's instructions, which he called right living, and also says he doesn't like prideful people, and the humble are those who do his commandments, and the haughty are the prideful who reject his commandments? What's going on here? None of this makes sense. This is why it's called his eisegesis, his opinion. And it's not, you know, unfortunately, this guy's, sorry, I'm trying to keep it together. We're going to go in a few more scriptures in just a minute.
There's something within us that says, if I do something, if I add my effort and my ritual and my ceremony to the work of Christ, somehow I'm going to be better off and God's going to love me more. It's hard for human nature to accept a free gift. To just say, really? I just believe and I'm right with God. Don't I have to do anything? Nope.
And that right there is probably the most troubling part about this message, guys, because he himself, like I already told you, in his own church, he doesn't even believe what he just said. This is showmanship. This is a preacher getting carried away and saying something that he truly doesn't understand or actually mean. Because in his church, you cannot just come in to say, I believe in Jesus, and then start doing witchcraft in his church. You cannot come into his service and say, oh yeah, I believe in Jesus, and go try to perform an abortion in the corner. You could not go into his church and hit on his wife. All those things are the law of God. The believers in his church sitting in the second row can't get up and start trying to make out with the guy playing the guitar, because I promise you, they do not condone homosexuality. He follows the law of God. He's just so confused with terminology. He doesn't realize what he's saying. This is what disturbs me so much, because they'll make such bold statements with conviction. So here's another lesson. Just like we did our little motorcycle car analogy earlier. Let's think. I just want you guys, hopefully, to make you aware that pastors, even when they're wrong, can speak with a ton of conviction. I used to have a dearly loved friend from middle school, or from high school, excuse me, a dearly loved friend. And, he would always get us like into trouble with other dudes, or he would have other dudes getting mad at him because he would say the wildest stuff, but he would say it with such conviction. And as a 15 or 16-year-old, other 15 and 16-year-olds, that was like new to them. Like many of them were shy and awkward. You're still in your teen years or growing. Many of them did not say things with conviction, right? With that surety and that confidence. And sometimes he would say some silly things that were not accurate, but he would say them with amazing conviction, and it would cause guys to look at him. And it was pretty funny because sometimes the guys would get, it would cause arguments or whatever, but it was just funny. Pastors can do this too, guys. They can say inaccurate things with the utmost conviction as if it's 100% true. This is why I called it showmanship earlier. I can do the same thing. I can absolutely do the same thing. I can grab this blue shirt and I can say, this banana peel that I'm wearing is amazing. This yellow banana peel is just amazing. It's life-giving. It probably would cure every ailment you ever had. A yellow banana peel worn on your body on the top upper half is truly the answer in your life that you need. Slippery, smelly, turning brown after a few hours, but this is the best. You see, anybody can do that. Everything I said is wrong. Makes no sense whatsoever. But anyone can do this, guys. This is, and unfortunately, the temptation to do this when you're in front of people. I'm physically in this position right now. You guys are listening to me talk. The temptation to do this is strong because you don't want to come across as, or at least you shouldn't, unless you're a Twitch streamer. You don't want to come across as weak and docile and beta. Like you don't want to know what you're talking about. And I spend hours and hours and hours researching everything I talk about and show you on screen, scripture after scripture, to be confident in what we're teaching. This is the point of having a confident teacher. So the temptation is strong when you are inaccurately teaching something and you don't realize it. You could teach with a lot of conviction. So this is why James 3:1, not all of you should become teachers. Much stricter judgment on teachers. And I just pray every day that the Father qualifies me and makes me strong. And I'm blessed that you guys actually want to listen to me. I never want to fall into this camp that we're watching tonight, or this guy. Just because he's literally taken all the words out of context. He's taken the scenarios from the scriptures out of context. And it's just a ridiculously discouraging message. Because what we're going to read in just a few minutes from the scriptures is that we run in the freedom of the commandments of God. This is what we were created to do. Ecclesiastes 12:13 is the whole duty of man to keep the commandments of God. This guy's highly mistaken.